होते का शेअर स्क्रीन होते आता हा. झालं ना हे शेअर स्क्रीन काय
स्टार्ट व्हिडिओ
यू आर शेअरिंग द स्क्रीन ते तू मिनिमाइज करून ठेवले म्हणून ते झूम ओपन कर पूर्ण ते नाही झूम ओपन कर तुझं ते हे याचं काय कळत नाही मला तुझे ना सगळे विंडोज खाली जातात ते ओपन होत नाहीये म्हणून तसं होतं हे ओपन कर इथे होतं ते हा नाही हा तुझा टॉप ओपन झाला
ऍक्च्युली
टॉप नको ओपन कर यू ओपन युअर झूम
ती छोटी कशी झाली
तेच तर विंडो तुझी छोटी झाली
इकडेच क्लिक करा
हे सगळं बंद करून टाक तुझे सगळे व्हिडिओ बंद करून टाक सगळे हे प्रेझेंटेशन बंद करून टाक आणि फक्त झूम चालू करा
हे पण
नाही झूम हा बंद कर सगळं बंद कर फक्त झूम चालू करा झूम चालू आहे तुझं हा झूम चालू आहे ना
नाही फुल मीटिंग व्यू
हा
विंडो मी दिसत का नाही
तेच ते मला कळत नाही ऍपलचं this should be in the whole screen तर ते कसं करायचं आहे इथे कसं आम्ही ओपन करतो ती अख्खी स्क्रीन भरून जाते
पण जरी शेअर जरी झालं तरी चालेल ना कॅन यू हिअर मी
नाही ना ते ओपन नाही झालं हा आता ठीक आहे नाव स्क्रीन शेअर करून डेस्कटॉप आहे पासवर्ड नाही टाकायचा
Can you hear me now? Can anybody answer?
No, you are the host. You can admit everyone.
Will somebody reply? Am I audible?
The screen तोपर्यंत कर.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay, yeah, fine. Yeah.
Where is your presentation?
What do you see on the screen right now?
No, this is on your laptop which is open.
Yes, ma'am.
No, what are you seeing as the screen? Can you see?
Yes, ma'am, I can see the screen.
Okay, very nice.
Should we restart from the beginning or should we just continue?
Oh,
I
wait.
think, ma'am, we can continue.
Okay, fine.
How many of you are there? You can keep admitting more
Yeah.
people.
Can everybody see the screen?
So that you'll have to make it small so that
Yes, ma'am.
keep admitting. Let's wait for 2 minutes. Let everyone join. Then we will start, huh?
Okay.
They follow step.
Hmm.
Because you will only have 20 people. Otherwise, nobody will join.
Correct.
Keep
Okay.
admitting. For 5 minutes, we will just admit everybody in and then we will start, huh?
Is that okay? I need a yes from somebody. Can you see the screen and can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am, I can see the screen and I can hear you.
Very good.
Please, can you start from the beginning?
No problem. We can start. We have time.
We can start from the beginning. Is that okay with
Okay, madam.
everybody? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Just wait for 2 minutes. I want to invite all. If you keep the screen असं
मला इथे कळत नाही आहे.
तुला कळत नाही.
हा.
That is what happens.
मी तसं ऍडमिट ऑल करून टाकलं.
ऍडमिट ऑल केलं तरी ते परत ऍडमिट करण्यासाठी विचारत राहतात.
अच्छा.
So for 2 minutes we'll wait and then we can start.
Okay. We are just waiting for 2 minutes for everybody to join, huh?
Right. That. No, you will have to stop it otherwise. No? ठीक है. Now you start.
Okay.
25 है ना तेव्हा 40 की 50 लोग होते हैं.
ठीक है. We are starting from the beginning.
हाँ.
So this is you can hear me, na? Hello. I need a yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
We can hear you.
So we are doing ventilatory settings in the management of COVID-19. Okay. So as we had discussed, I just discussed this slide before. ARDS is when the PF ratio is less than 300 in a presence of PEEP of 5. So conventionally, mild ARDS, that is your PF ratio of 200 to 300 was to be given NIV. But in COVID, we are changing the strategy somewhat. So patients having a PF ratio even below 200, it is recommended to give a trial of NIV or HFNC prior to deciding about intubating them. However, if the PF ratio remains below 150 on NIV or HFNC and the FiO2 doesn't come down below 80%, they may require intubation in the future. Okay. Then we come to non-invasive ventilation. This is ideally for the mild type of ARDS, that is around 200 to 300, or in COVID cases, we may give it when the PF ratio is around 150. So there are 3 types. We have the continuous positive airway pressure, and we have the BiPAP, and we have the bi-level positive airway pressure. So some amount of confusion in the terminology regarding BiPAP and the bi-level positive airway pressure. Continuous positive airway pressure we are not using for COVID-19, that is for sleep apnea. So we'll be concentrating on the latter 2, that is the bi-level and the BiPAP. Okay. So what do you start the patient on once you decide that you are giving NIV to a patient? So initial inspiratory and expiratory pressures, that is inspiratory positive airway pressure needs to be 10 and expiratory pressure, that is expiratory positive airway pressure needs to be around 5. You start with an FiO2 of 100% and then you down titrate it to a saturation of 90 to 95. Once you put the patient on pressures of 10 by 5, the next thing that you see is the tidal volume generated, okay? So this tidal volume generated should be around 5 to 7 ml of the patient's body weight. So roughly anything above 300 is good enough. And you have to up titrate the inspiratory pressure till the time by 2 centimeter every time till the time the patient generates a tidal volume of more than 300 roughly. Okay. Now, what is BiPAP? That is bi-level positive airway pressures. Here, the patient is getting 2 different pressures during the inspiration and expiration. Okay. Some ventilators have IPAP written on them. Some ventilators have pressure support written on them. So your IPAP equals to pressure support above the EPAP. Okay. So if the ventilator is having just pressure support written to it and you decide to give an IPAP of 15 and your EPAP is 5, so your pressure support needs to be 10. But if there is only IPAP written on it, like in AGWA ventilators, that needs to be 15 itself. Okay. Your IPAP maximum, it can be given up to 30, and it is your driving pressure, that is the pressure support will decide your tidal volume, and it is a deciding factor for your ventilation. So your pH and the PCO2 levels are to be titrated as per your IPAP levels. And whenever you have an oxygenation problem, that is you need alveolar recruitment, so that time you have to up titrate your EPAP, okay, because that is your deciding factor for your oxygenation. So this is how a typical AGWA screen looks like. Like I said before, the initial IPAP and EPAP setting would be 10 and 5 centimeter of water. Earlier it was said it used to be 8 and 4, which we are not recommending now. You decide the how much you have to give the ventilation depending upon the tidal volume generated. So for a 50 kg man, roughly up to 300 to 350 tidal volume is good enough. We are not targeting 500, 700. Okay. Then subsequently, depending upon the ABGs, okay, you will decide what to do with your pressures. So supposing if your ABG is acidotic, then what you need to address is your IPAP. That is, you increase the IPAP, meanwhile increasing the delta P, that is the difference between the IPAP and the EPAP. Okay, so that is how increments in the IPAP will help you fix the ventilation. That is, it will be your deciding factor for your CO2 washout. And in case an ABG is acidotic, you need to increase the inspiratory positive airway pressure, because it is the deciding factor for your tidal volumes. Meanwhile, if you see that the patient's pH and PCO2 are normal, but your oxygenation is a problem, then what you do is you need to increase the EPAP. So you increase the EPAP by 2 centimeter. But when you are increasing the EPAP, what happens is you bring down the pressure support. That is, the difference needs to be maintained. So when you're increasing the EPAP by 2 centimeter, you go higher by for your IPAP also by 2 centimeter. Okay, so that difference needs to be maintained if your ventilation, that is PCO2 levels and pH are normal. Okay, maximum IPAP that you can give is around 30 centimeter, and maximum EPAP that you can give is around 10 to 15 centimeter of water. However, on your AGWA, there is an upper limit to EPAP of 10, so that we are limited to that. FiO2 setting would be around 100% once you start, and then down titrate it to the patient's saturation of 90 to 95%. You give a backup rate of 12 to 16 breaths per minute. This is just in case the patient stops breathing or having problems like apnea. So if the patient is having central apneas or obstructive sleep apneas, and if the patient is not triggering spontaneous breaths, the ventilator will give a backup, and those backup rates will be delivered at the IPAP and the EPAP that you have set. Okay. Now there is some confusion regarding this bi-level positive airway pressure that we have on our ScanRays. So ScanRays has a setting which does not give you an IPAP, EPAP or a pressure support. it gives you directly the RR, the T high, the P high, the pressure support in the pressure control bi-level mode. Now, here you need to understand that what this P high and P support is basically, it is giving two continuous positive airway pressures. Okay, the time duration for which it is giving those positive airway pressures is your cycling time. Okay, so this RR that you see 22 is not the rate at which it is delivering the P high. It is delivering the P high plus the P low, which is the peak, and the duration of which this entire cycle will be dependent upon how much you set the T high. Okay, so for example, if your RR is 20, your each cycle will be 3 seconds. If you set the T high at 1, then it will give T high for 1 second, and the remaining 2 seconds, it will not give that T high support. So for that 2 seconds, the patient will really receive a PEEP of 10. Okay. Also, since the patient is breathing at both these higher pressures, you have an option of giving a pressure support over the T high. Okay. But this pressure support will be above the P high, which means if you're giving a pressure support of 8 over 17, then your total inspiratory positive error pressure at that spontaneous breath would be around 25, which is quite high. So which is what I wanted to tell you. Don't keep your pressure support more than 5 centimeters. Like if you are keeping this at 15, your P high, then your pressure support need not be more than 10, because your IPAP ka limit 10 is reached. Okay, this is adding up to your P high on every breath. Fine. And your peak low will be the time in which whatever time is remaining after your T high and P high ka time is consumed, whatever you have set, the remaining 2 seconds, the patient will be at a peak of 10. Okay. So RR is not the respiratory rate, it is the cycling duration of the P high and the peak, depending upon how much you want to give it. Now the advantage here is, like your APRV mode, that is airway pressure release ventilation, you can give an inverse ratio ventilation to the patient on a non-invasive mode. Yeah, so that is something which can drastically improve your oxygenation. Okay, and your trigger. So trigger value is usually between 1 to 3 liters per minute. Whenever the patient triggers a spontaneous breath, he is going to get a pressure support above the set pressure. So he can trigger during an inspiration or during the higher pressure cycle or the lower pressure cycle. So that is the difference between the BiPAP and the bilevel. Like in BiPAP, every breath you are getting an inspiratory pressure and an expiratory pressure. Here you are getting some XYZ pressure continuously over a fixed duration of time over which the patient is breathing. Then it comes down to a lower level for XYZ time over which the patient is breathing. Okay. So that is the difference. So once we come to the non-invasive mode, we have when to intubate. I'm sure all of you know this. If the patient is in respiratory distress in spite of being on NIV, having altered sensorium, or his ABG is deteriorating, you decide to intubate the patient. Fine. So initial setting, this is as per our task force protocol and ARDS net protocol. We give a low tidal volume or lung protective ventilation to patients of ARDS. So you're not looking at tidal volumes which are very high, like 500, 550. Okay, this is targeted at lower tidal volumes, and your magic number is 6 ml per kg predicted body weight. So this is not as per the weight of the patient. Okay, this is as per the predicted body weight, the formula I have given here. And your starting PEEP is around 10 centimeters of water. The preferable mode may be pressure regulated volume control, or pressure control, whichever you want. But this tidal volume of 6 ml per kg predicted body weight needs to be respected. Your respiratory rate can initially start from around 20 to 25. But since these patients are ventilated at a lower tidal volume, eventually you have to go high on the respiratory rate. Okay, this is how a typical volume control assist control ventilation. So that is volume control, assist control ventilation of Vista ventilator looks like. We have 3 scalar graphs. We have the pressure, we have the flow, and we have the volume. Now, I just want you to appreciate the difference between this scalar forms and this. Can you see a difference? Can somebody answer that?
They can also unmute them.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself and just answer. Does anybody see a difference? I want one person to answer, please. Am I audible?
आता बोलले ते audible.
I want one person to answer. Can you see any difference between these two screens?
Dinesh, can you answer? Are you there? Minimize करो.
Hello. Ma'am, I think I can see a direct drop in the other one. In
Okay,
the volume.
very good. So that is the volume curve. That is the third curve that you are seeing. Oh, yeah. What about the first and the second?
In flow there is the flow of the inspiratory volume is low.
Okay, good enough. Fine. Ideally, this one, the one that I'm sharing right now, is not the ideal scalars that you should be seeing once the patient is intubated. There are too many things wrong with this scalars. One is the third curve, that is the volume scalar that you have, that should look like smooth mountains with your line touching the baseline during the expiratory phase. As you can see in this, it is touching the baseline. You have smooth mountains for the third scalar, that is the volume graph. Do I get a yes? Can somebody say yes? Yeah, yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. The second thing is, see the pressure curve. The first one, can you appreciate the difference between the first two? First one, the yellow one.
Yellow one.
Can you appreciate the difference?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so the second one is the proper pressure. So that will be an exponential ascending ramp. That is supposed to be how it is supposed to look in a volume control mode. Okay, so what probably has happened here is your rise time is very low in the first one. So it has gone up straight and then flattened out. This is not how it's supposed to look. The third thing is, do you see these red marks on the flow scalar in the second one? Can somebody answer yes?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
So the red ones are the spontaneously triggered this thing. And can you see the expiratory limb reaching the baseline here? On the flow curve? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Can you appreciate it over here? No.
No, ma'am.
So
No,
we
ma'am.
have a problem here, okay? That should smoothly touch the baseline. So basically all your graphs should touch the baseline. If they don't touch the baseline, we are having some problem. I'll just tell you how to troubleshoot that in the next slides. But roughly, this is how it should look. This is how it should look, okay? And this is not how it should look, okay? This is one of the volume control modes in the scan rate. Can somebody tell me, is this looking normal?
No, ma'am, not touching the baseline.
Not touching the baseline here, basically because this is a pressure waveform. So you are not, it is not touching the baseline because there is a peak. So that much is okay, but can you appreciate a concavity in between the first? The green lines is your initiation of inspiration. Then there is a concavity and then it is going up. Can you appreciate that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this multiple things needs to be addressed here too, which I'll tell you. Yeah, basically this is called something called as flow starvation. So your flow rates are very low, which is why you're having a concavity in your pressure scalar, okay? This is what you can come to know from your pressure loops. Also your VT set and VTI getting delivered are not the same. Your IE ratio is set at 1:1.5, but what is getting delivered is 1.4:1. Your RR is set at 22 and your RR getting delivered is 33. So all these things need to be matched and addressed, okay? what needs fixing here is probably the patient is awake and breathing spontaneously, and there is some amount of flow starvation. So I would want to increase the flow rate and reduce the inspiratory time in this, and then see what happens. Actually, I don't have, I just picked this picture from the clinical group and I thought it was not correct, so I just put it. Okay. Then once you make that, you roughly see the graphs once you intubate the patient. What is your aim of oxygenation? It would be around 88 to 95 is good enough. And your FiO2, if it remains above 60 for a long duration of time, that is something which can cause oxygen toxicity. So as soon as you intubate the patient, within 2 or 3 days, his oxygen or FiO2 needs to be reduced, or you at least try to reduce it below 60% without touching the pressures or the volumes or anything. So that should be your primary aim. Okay. And also for the lung protective ventilation, you are allowed to increase your PCO2, that is something called as permissive hypercapnia, to go as low as 7.25. So we are good enough. We are not aiming at normocarbia. Normocapnia, it is okay for your pH to go as low as 7.25 just to give that lung protective ventilation. One thing I want you all to know very, very thoroughly is that you need to remember 2 magic numbers, okay? So that is, your P flat should never, ever, ever cross 30 and your P peak should never, ever cross 35, okay? So whatever settings, whatever mode you are doing, your P flat should never cross 30 and your P peak should never cross 35, okay? So what is the tidal volume adjustment? So like I said, your tidal volume adjustment is as per the predicted body weight, and nobody has the time to calculate that in the ICU when the patient gets intubated. So it comes to approximately around 50 to 60 kg. So you start your tidal volumes with 8 ml per kg predicted body weight, which would be around 400 to 480. I think all of us are doing that. So intuitively, whenever a patient gets intubated, you are giving that 400 tidal volume to him. But we should aim at a lower tidal volume. So once you have done this setting, the patient is oxygenated, you have set your PEEP, you have set your RR, you should gradually get down to your magic number of 6 ml per kg. So these patients need to be ventilated at a lower tidal volume. So gradually, if you can, as per the ABG adjustment and ABG PCO2 and oxygenation levels, they need to be gradually decreased to a tidal volume of around 300 to 360. It is not always possible. You are allowed the range of 4 to 8 ml per kg. But then ideal situation would be if you could bring them down to around 6 ml per kg. Because prognostically it is better and you are protecting their lungs. You're giving them, you're preventing volutrauma, you're preventing barotrauma, and the outcomes are better. Okay, so this is what I wanted. So the first thing that you're setting is your tidal volume. Once you set this, I want you to look at 2 things, okay? Instantly, as soon as you set the tidal volume, the second parameter that you need to see is your P flat. Okay, that magic number has to be below 30 no matter what. Okay, so in Vista setting, that is the P pause. So once you check that, so I have set the tidal volume of 400, your P pause is 90, I'm good. The second thing you need to check is your VTI. Okay, so VTI and your set tidal volume should match. Okay, this, like I said, it should be less than 35. Less than 30, I'm sorry, and your P peak should be less than 35. I've highlighted it in red because it is very, very, very important to prevent pneumomediastinum, pneumothorax, subcutaneous emphysema. Okay. Can anybody tell me, this is the ventilatory setting that I had shown you in the earlier graph. What is the problem with the, what is the other problem over here with the tidal volumes? You can unmute yourself and tell me. Can anybody spot some problem with the tidal volumes? I want an answer, somebody to answer. Is it okay?
VT is low, ma'am.
Yeah, very good. So that now, if you go back to what I was telling you, your flow waveform is not touching the baseline, correct? Your flow waveform, second, the blue color. Okay. And your volume graph is also faulty. You have a sudden drop before the expiratory limb touches the baseline.
Yes, ma'am. Patient is not sedated.
Okay. Why are you saying that?
When spontaneous breathing is there and the expiratory volume and the expiratory graph of flow is irregular.
Okay, fine. There is some amount of vibrations which could be due to secretions, which what I feel. What I see is your respiratory rate is 17 for a set rate of 20. So not necessarily this patient is awake or taking spontaneous breath. You have a problem with a VTI and VTE mismatch with your volume graph showing a sudden drop down, which means this patient is having an air leak. Okay, the amount of tidal volume going in is not the amount of tidal volume that is coming out. Another place where you can see a similar graph is that the patient is having autopy. Okay, when your expiratory limb will not touch the baseline and your volume curve will not touch the baseline. But here we don't seem to have an issue with the high RR, okay, and the VTE is low, which will also be a case when your this thing, you have an autopy. So how do you troubleshoot this is you quickly check the cuff. Okay, if there is not enough air, you inflate the air up to 5 to 7 cc air is enough in a cuff, and if that is fixing the problem, that when we are good enough, that is a air leak problem. And if you feel that it is due to an autopy, the lower left hand corner has an expiratory hold. Okay, that will give you a autopy reading, and that is how this what you call it, ventilator settings need some amount of fixing. Okay, you have any doubt? Anybody having any doubt? Am I clear about that?
Ma'am, can you repeat the autopy part?
Yeah, so see, there are two possibilities here. We have a VTI and VTE mismatch. Okay, so depending upon the lower two graph, there are two differentials of the expiratory limb not touching the baseline and your expiratory limb of the volume graph also not touching the baseline. One is you are having an air leak, and second is there is a possibility of autopy. Now, when does an autopy develop? When you have a very high tidal volume and you have a very high respiratory rate, so that your expiratory time is not enough for the patient to exhale the entire volume that is going in, and which is why you have retention of air in the alveoli. Okay, but that doesn't seem to be a problem here because my set rate is 20 and your RR is 17, so he's not breathing at a rate of 40-45, which would want me to suspect that the patient has developed an autopy. So what the second thing you can do for confirming this is you can give a patient an expiratory hold maneuver. So which is your left lower hand corner. See in small letters, can you read that EXP hold? So if you press that, yeah. So if you press that, you will get your autopy. Okay. So if that autopy is very high, so if it is like 10 or 15, you need to go down on your tidal volume, you need to go down on your respiratory rate, and ideally your set PEEP should be around 80% of your autopy, so that there is emptying of lungs that is happening. So basically your autopy becomes a problem when you're giving a very high RR. You may not give, but if the patient is breathing at a very high rate and is not sedated, paralyzed, that might become a problem, which in this case doesn't seem to be a problem because he's just breathing at a rate of 70. Okay, so the likely issue here would be a cuff leak or your cuff is not inflated properly. Okay, am I clear on that?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Then we come to the respiratory rate. So that is, again, you can start with 20 to 25. The golden rule of thumb is if you know the patient's initial respiratory rate prior to intubation, you need to set the respiratory rate for less than what he was initially breathing at. Now that may not be practical if your patient is breathing at a rate of 40 or 50. Like you cannot set a RR of 44 or 46. Okay, so generally you start with 20 to 25. You may, the upper limit of respiratory rate is around 35. You need not cross that, because if you cross this, it is likely to develop into autopeep and barotrauma. Okay. So this is the RR that you set. Always confirm it whether that is the RR that the patient is receiving. You have an RR spontaneous option also here. So that may give you whether how many breaths the patient is taking spontaneously. Okay. Here, I just wanted to box it because whenever you are setting the RR, this is something that you need to keep in mind. The expiratory limb should touch the baseline. Okay. This is the flow scalar and it should always touch the baseline. Then you have the inspiratory time. So this will be a function of what IE ratio you wish to give to the patient depending upon the RR. So your RR, inspiratory time, IE ratio and the flow rates are all codependent on each other. Okay. So now if you see, we have set an RR of 20. Can somebody tell me what is the physiological IE ratio? Anybody? What is the physiological IE ratio?
1:2.
Yeah, very good. So that is the physiological IE ratio. You need twice the amount of expiratory time than the inspiratory time. In ARDS, we prefer to have longer inspiratory time so that the oxygenation is better, because we are not really worried about the ventilation part, the CO2 retention. We are more worried about the oxygenation part. Okay. So here with the RR, we have set an inspiratory time of 1.5. Okay. So how much is the total respiratory cycle? Around 3 seconds. So what do you expect the IE ratio to be out here? 1:1. So whenever you turn this knob, just keep an eye on what changes are happening on the right lower corner. That is your IE ratio. Here 1:1 may be okay if he's maintaining the PCO2. If the PCO2 starts rising, you may have to tweak it a little bit to give him a longer expiratory time. But another thing you have to remember is your expiratory, your PCO2 levels, grossly it will depend upon your minute ventilation, that is your tidal volume and RR. Okay. Your IE ratio is a fine tuning of that. Your inspiratory time, your flow rates and IE ratio is the fine tuning of your CO2 adjustments. It will grossly depend upon your respiratory rate and the tidal volume, and in turn in the minute ventilation. Okay. So once you said that, you need to see the IE ratio. Okay. Now what is TPOS? This, I have not seen this used much, but usually if you have that option, it may be worthwhile to try that. This is like once your tidal volume is delivered, it stays there for some amount of time. Maybe you can from 0 to 0.4 seconds for better oxygenation. Okay. So that is your TPOS. Okay. So there will be slight change in the graphics whenever you give this TPOS. One is that your volume curve, instead of being a pointed top mountain, it will just flatten out. There will be a plateau at the top, and even on your flow curve, there will be a slight plateau before the expiration starts, which is okay. It is for better oxygenation, but maximum you can give it up to 0.4 seconds. You can start by giving it at 0.1 or 0.2. Okay. Then we come to the PEEP. So normally when you intubate the patient with a bad lung, you start with a PEEP of 10 and then gradually go in for an increments of 2 centimeter. Maximum usually for very bad lungs can be given up to 20, but that is in theory, that will definitely lead to barotrauma. You can go up to 50 generally. I have not seen 20 being used much, but up to 15 would be a safe value. Okay. Again, whenever you are increasing the PEEP, you always keep an eye on the PEEP plat so that that doesn't cross 30. Okay. Then you have the flow trigger. That is the next setting. Your flow trigger is basically a cue for your ventilator to deliver a full volume breath. So there are two types of triggers. So there are flow trigger and pressure trigger, which are dependent on the patient. There is also a time trigger in which the patient is not triggering anything. So in Vista, you have the flow trigger. Now the sensitivity is from 1 to 10. So the amount of effort or the flow the patient needs to deflect in order for the machine to sense that he's making an effort is your flow trigger, okay? So if it is 1, it is on the lower side. So if you increase it to 10, that means the machine is sensing even a little bit of effort made by the person, and it will deliver a full volume tidal breath, and that can lead to CO2 washout and auto PEEP, because even a small bit of effort will be sensed and there'll be a lot of breaths delivered. So usually it is not kept at 10, it is kept at around 1 to 3. Some machines also have it negatively.
5 minutes. If they have any questions.
Yeah, okay. So that is about your flow trigger. So here you just need to remember that it is around 1 to 3, okay. FiO2, again, I'm sure all of you know, FiO2 to be set at 100 and down titrated as per the saturation. Always keep an eye whether FiO2 that you have set is the FiO2 that is being delivered, okay. Just a word about the pressure control mode. Pressure control mode is better for ARDS because you have a complete control over pressure versus your volume control mode, wherein the pressures may rise if the machine is wanting to give the set amount of tidal volume that you have set at, okay. Again, your pressures are to be titrated to the amount of tidal volume generated. This is exactly like the NIV. So once you set your peak inspiration, you see what VTI is generated, okay. Here it needs to be up titrated because it is around 250, so that is not good enough. So little bit, maybe 20 is okay, but then once you reach the peak inspiration of 20, your PEEP will be adding it during the inspiratory cycle, so that will go around a PEEP flat of 30. So above that, what in case the patient is hypoventilating, you may have to go high on the RR, because once you have reached your IPAP limit of or your pressure limit of 30, okay. That is your pressure control mode to be titrated to the tidal volume achieved finally. You have a pressure regulated volume control. This is kind of combining the pressure and the volume control mode. So in volume control mode, in pressure regulated volume control mode, your first breath is the volume control breath. Depending upon that, the machine calculates what is the P flat produced at that breath, and then it delivers you breaths at that pressure, just 3 centimeter above and below that pressure to maintain that tidal volume, okay. Again, here, once you have set the volume, you need to see whether that is the volume that is getting delivered and what is the P flat, okay. So this is just a slide on how to troubleshoot. So whenever you have increase in the peak airway pressure, you have problem either at the level of ET or beyond the ET in the airways, okay. So if there is an ET block, you need suctioning to be done. If there is increase in the P flat along with PP, you need to see whether there is development of pneumothorax, or if the lung compliance is so bad that both your PP and P flat are very high, okay. Whenever your plateau pressures is more than 30, what you need to do is down titrate the tidal volume by 1 ml per kg. That is, you come down by 50 ml roughly. If the patient is not sedated, paralyzed, you need to address that. And in case it is due to any cardiogenic pulmonary edema, then you may consider diuresis, okay. Your FiO2 requirement is can be adjusted either by increase, your oxygenation requirement can be adjusted either by increments in the FiO2 or increasing the PEEP, okay. Permissible hypercapnia permitted up to 7.25 pH, and you need to address if there are any metabolic abnormalities. First of all, depending upon the pH, whether it is respiratory or metabolic. If it is respiratory, increase the respiratory rate. If metabolic, you'd give the metabolic correction, okay. And if the pH is alkalotic, you may have to come down on the tidal volume and the respiratory rate, minute ventilation in general. Okay. Refractory hypoxemia, proning, which we are doing right now. If you always assess the cardiac function, consider nitric oxide, but we are not giving it over here. Sedation, paralysis, and ECMO is when the PF ratio is less than 50, not available at our facility. Okay. So this is just call your seniors in case this is not getting fixed. Okay. That's it. Okay. Any questions? Any questions?
Hello,
Yes.
ma'am. How ventilation weaning is done?
So weaning, the first thing to be touched for weaning is your FiO2. Okay, so FiO2 should come down to 50 to 60% before you touch any of the ventilatory parameters. You cannot think of weaning before de-escalating the FiO2 requirement. So once your FiO2 comes down to 60, then you start slowly giving the patient trials of pressure support. So the driving pressure for your pressure support for a weaning trial will be your P-plat. So suppose the patient was on volume AC and having a P-plat of 20. Your patient should be ideally given a sedation holiday in the morning to check weanability, provided his FiO2 has come down to around 50 to 60%. If that is getting corrected, you have brought down the FiO2 to around 50 to 60%, you will give a patient a spontaneous breathing trial, which will last from 30 minutes to 2 hours on the first day with a driving pressure equivalent to what was his P-plat. Okay, so if his P-plat was 20, you will give him a 5 ka P, 20 ka pressure support, and then for half an hour, just observe him. If he's becoming too tachypneic on that or desaturating, that means there is a failed weaning trial. If he continues to maintain SATs on that, you may extend it up to 2 hours and that's it. He's done for the day. The next weaning trial, you will give it the next day. Okay? Any other questions?
Ma'am, recruitment manual.
Yes. So there are, if the patient just gets intubated and not maintaining saturation, there are 3 pressures that you can give. You can give 20 centimeter for 20 seconds, 30 centimeter for 30 seconds, and 40 centimeter for 40 seconds. The 41 I'm not recommending because it can cause barotrauma. Okay. How do you give it? Your patient should be completely knocked off. Sedation and paralysis should be given. Second thing that you do is first go and switch off the apnea alarm. Because you are going to give it for 20 seconds, ventilator will start giving breaths. If your apnea alarm comes into play after 10 seconds, ventilator will start delivering those breaths. Okay, so if you want to give a 20-second PEEP, you will switch off the apnea alarm. That's the first thing you do. Second thing is you go to the CPAP mode and you make the pressure support 0 and you make the PEEP of 20. Count till 20 seconds. So there should be absolutely no breathing effort. For 20 seconds, there should be a flat line on the pressure scalar. And once the 20 second is done, you quickly come down to by 2 to 2 centimeters up to 10 or 12, whatever PEEP you have decided, and then go back to the mode that you wanted. Okay. Any other questions?
I would like to add one point.
Huh?
To my colleagues, is there is
the flow trigger.
Yes, follow. What
if patient NIV, you have to always check the mask and repeat most of the patient desaturated because of the mask leak.
Correct.
So always go for mask leak, check it because most of the time patient desaturated up to 67-60%, and only reason is mask leak.
Yes.
And those patients are getting intubated right now, which I have saw personally.
Okay. Okay.
And one more thing is, if mass is leak, we have to monitor. If there is doubt and we are saying ki mass is leak, so go for the monitor and check for V leak. In AGWA, there is a in percentage 89-90% ventilator is leak.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
In Scanray, there is a leak milliliter and liter.
Correct.
There is a small variable is there, so you have to monitor this. Is there is leak or not?
Correct.
And please attach the sensor and catheter mount with the filter. And filter will be attached to the bi-level side, not to the ventilator.
Okay.
One more thing, ma'am. Actually, yesterday, the new Vista ventilator is upgraded. So
Hmm.
there is a one more pipe, that is an air pipe, which has to port in airport, not in O2 port. So I just posted yesterday a photo of that. So
Hmm.
every doctor has to guide ward boy where to just connect it, because it's a new. इसके
Okay.
पहले जो भी स्कैनरे एग्वा का था उसको कुछ भी एयरपोर्ट नहीं था. This
Okay.
is the first Vista Venti which has this connection.
Okay.
So क्योंकि everyone was questioning us कि air leak क्यों आता है, because of that port was not actually inserted with care. So वो करना है next time से. Like
The black
as I am an
color
equipment
tubing.
doctor.
The
Yeah,
black.
yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. I posted photo yesterday on the group.
Okay.
Again today I will post.
Okay, fine.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Ma'am, flow trigger and pressure trigger.
So, flow trigger and pressure trigger are basically for the ventilator to sense that the patient is making an effort to breathe. And accordingly, in your assist control modes and your spontaneous modes, the ventilator will give you a full volume breath in your assist control modes, and in spontaneous modes if a pressure support breath. Okay, so when the patient makes an effort in pressure trigger, there will be some amount of negative pressure generated because the patient is trying to inspire. Okay, so that will be a cue for the ventilator to deliver a breath. Whereas in flow trigger, there is a continuous loop in the ventilator where there is an inspiratory flow and there is an expiratory flow. So normally the ventilator senses that your inspiratory flow is similar to expiratory flow. And now in this between this, if the patient breathes, so some amount of flow is diverted to the patient. So your inspiratory flow and expiratory flow in the ventilatory circuit are not equal, and that the ventilator senses that the patient has made an effort to breathe, and it will deliver your full volume breath in an assist control mode and a pressure support breath in a non-invasive or a spontaneous mode. So the sensitivity of these triggers, your pressure or flow trigger, is to a varying degree. So normally, if you are setting a flow sensor, a flow trigger at a sensitivity of 10, then even some amount of vibrations or some movement made by the patient can be sensed as an effort by the patient, and it will deliver a breath, which is what you don't want. Okay. So which is why you set it to a level of 1 to 3 liters per minute, which is good enough for the ventilator to sense that the patient has genuinely made an effort to breathe, and so I need to deliver a breath to the patient. Okay.
And ma'am, what should be the normal values of pressure trigger?
Same 1 to 3. Usually though pressure trigger is not used, mostly flow trigger is only used. Any other question?
Ma'am, is that like that ki SIMV is now outdated, SIMV mode is outdated?
Yes, it is not recommended for weaning because patients end up with a lot of fatigue. Synchronized intermittent mandatory ventilation is where your ventilator stops to give a breath if the patient attempts to breathe. Okay, so what happens is these patients are coming out or weaning, and they take those short low volume breaths like 50, 100, something like that, and ultimately they end up being tired. So the outcome of SIMV is not that good. So now when you're thinking of weaning a pressure patient, you either give him a pressure support trial, which is the best I would say, or you directly take him on TPs. Or you have something called as automated tube compensation, which is there in your max ventilators. That is like that is equivalent to patient breathing spontaneously without the ET tube in situ. So that is automated tube compensation. So these are the 3 modes of weaning, and you don't go in for an SIMV. Although earlier it was recommended if the patient is having a prolonged course or he is being intubated for a long time, that may be tried, but not really recommended now. Any other question? Any other question?
Fine. So I think we can end the talk over here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope all of you have understood most of the concepts over here of ventilator, both invasive and non-invasive. I thank Dr. Sonal Karve for giving a wonderful informative talk over here, and hope all these practical points which were covered up will help you in better functioning in the ICU.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we end the session here, and all further questions can be taken on the WhatsApp groups if necessary. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.